Welcome. It's a joy to be with you all again. And of course, we know why we're here. There may be a few of you who've joined us for the first time and are just discovering that once a month we sit down together and use a theme to focus on what's happening in life. The themes are usually chosen from something that's happening in the world or something that is important to all of us. The method we use for these reflections is slightly different. If you tuned in here thinking you were going to get a full recording of information and like a well-planned lecture, you are really going to be disappointed because this is not the purpose. The purpose is we're all on life's journey. And on life's journey, we need time to sit down and relax. Let the problems and the strains and the demands of every day go and give a little time to really listening to what is at depth going on in my life, first of all, my unique and utterly personal life. No matter how many people I have around me as family or friends, nobody lives my life with me. And so I need to pay a little more attention to it from time to time, to myself, and see what's going on in my inner world. And at the same time, standing back from the everyday demands and routine and questions and false information, and we all know the scene, standing back from that, I'm really seeing what is happening to the whole global family and how that is affecting all of us and changing our world and our relationship with life. And so those two things those are our method. Look first at my own inner world, then look out at the wider world. And to do that, I need to make the effort to let the demands and the questions and the control and the pressures of everyday life go and allow myself and help myself to be drawn into my own inner stillness, so that I really can listen to the ultimate reality, the only truth. Call it what you will. Call it God by a dozen names, or just leave it at that. It exists because I have experienced it. Okay. So here we are. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this might be something slightly different to what you get when you turn on to a channel like this. And there are many such offers being made at the moment. By chance, I happen to look down a list of the things that are available to you that you could be listening to for this sort of advice and help on television and on your YouTube and so on. All the titles were really very attractive. And many of them we have used before. There were quotations from spiritual traditions that we're not familiar with, and great writers and poets and so on. And if you are familiar with these, or even with the titles that I have used when we've been talking in the past, you may be surprised that I say, well, today's theme, if we have to capture it in a word, is depression, psychological depression. Good gracious me, who wants to talk about that? Where is the strength and the encouragement? By looking at that. And now we've probably all seen somebody who is overtaken by psychological depression. And we notice that, first of all, the Attention to personal details like clothing or makeup or hair, or the table being tidied in the house, or the washing up being finished. Well, a sort of non-caring attitude creeps in with psychological depression. And why are we looking at this? You say that isn't happening to me and isn't happening in my family. Okay, where is it happening? Look at the global family. This is perhaps one of the most pernicious, dangerous, because it's overlooked, long-term effects that we will suffer as a human family from this period of shutdown, lockdown, locked in, rules and regulations, handling the virus, and the statistics, accurate or false, that we're constantly being fed with. What really does depression, being pushed down in the enthusiasm for life and choices, slowly being swept away? It's one of the effects of shutdown, and don't miss it, because to prevent it spreading in your life is really very important. How do we see it? Well, we all recognized why we had an increase in domestic violence at the beginning of the shutdown. Now, here's something else, more subtle, but more powerful, more difficult to heal. Depression takes away from us the ability to risk. We have a great fear of risking what is unknown and therefore unsafe. And let me give you one example that I have noticed fairly recently with contact that I've had with parents of children who are now in their 20s, round about 20 years of age. Their fear of risking the unknown in future jobs, and especially in relationships, is increasing. Yes, of course, they have good relationships. They live with each other sometimes, but they also keep their freedom to move away. And children, the world is too uncertain for me to take the responsibility of bringing children into the world. The responsibility, it may happen, but I don't want the responsibility of the future. Well, that's just one of the ways, very, very dangerous ways, in which the depression, the psychological depression, which is growing as a cloud over humanity, can have devastating effects on us as a human family. And I can almost hear some of you saying, oh, no, that's not really happening at all. We're all getting more courageous and so on. Well, are we? We all like the idea, especially over here in Europe, where it's mixed bag, and in America too, of going to a familiar place that's not home for a holiday. Are we going to be so open to going into those areas of the world that are completely unknown to us in the future? Yes, a little travel, little holiday travel, but are we going to be adventurous enough? Do we see the point as we have to grow as one united human family? Do we still think it's vitally important to risk everything, security, certainty, success, in order to make a journey into the totally unknown? See, that's one of the effects of a depression in society, that we probably won't notice unless we spend a little time thinking about it. But that's only in the wider society. It will take a real effort for all of us to sit back and see how this could be happening to me, and I haven't noticed. What is it worth taking a risk on that I don't know how it will turn out? I might succeed or I may be disappointed, but is it worthwhile taking a risk? See how long it is since you've done that. It's not that you're seeking only security, but you're not seeking adventure either. Not this type of adventure. Okay, but try and see. Another way in which we see how this is affecting us is that we know all about the perennial and universal questions, the one that we all, every single human being in some way, faces over and over again in life. That's why they're perennial. And they're universal because they don't depend on where we were born or what our culture was or what our religious tradition. They are human questions. Where has all this come from? This magnificent universe. And where is it going to? What is the purpose of the universe? And why am I here? My unique life. One of billions and trillions of people who've ever lived on this planet, and I am unique. And I love both with the whole of humanity and totally alone. Okay. We have many symbols and we have strong traditions that give us answers to those questions. But one of the other things that is happening to us at the moment with the COVID crisis and the depression of being locked in is that the old symbols and traditions don't always give satisfactory answers to the questions we have. Look what's happening to many of the religious traditions. And yet, on the other hand, there is a new burst of enthusiasm to be introduced to the teachings, the ideas, the symbol systems of traditions that are not the ones I was born and brought up with, or which are around me. If you take a quick look in Europe, for example, and I think perhaps in North America too, you will find the sudden outburst of enthusiasm for the teaching of Buddhism and for the yogic tradition of Vedic Hinduism. Classes of 300 in a city like Vienna can turn up for a meditation evening now without really knowing anything of why they're doing it, hoping that it will be the answer that will set everything back to normal. That is the problem. Back to normal. It's the back. That what was normal, this is not normal. That was acceptable, this is not acceptable. How we're living, where we're living now. Yes, we can hang it on the COVID virus, but take it off the COVID virus and look at it in the context of humanity's journey to completion, to fulfillment. And you look around and we see that in spite of the sudden holding on to the traditions, there is an insecurity, because we have to find new answers to the perennial questions, answers that match the situation we are now living in, the age we're living now? No answers? So what do you do? If I can't find answers quickly, then I don't ask the questions. But the questions do not go away because I turn my back on them, or I reach into the past and say, that worked, now it will work again. Now remember, we're looking at these themes, these questions, from two angles. One is our own personal experience and reaction and need, and then what is happening to us as a global family. Both ways. Fear to risk. Thinking that safety and security can be found easily. This is one of the worst things, or the most powerful things that can happen to us, that is going to prevent us individually and as family throughout the globe reaching completion of our humanity, of our purpose for having been brought into existence. Fear to risk, no confidence in life, no confidence in my life and my purpose, having quite unrealistic and unattainable goals for my life, being able to sit down, let go my sense of power, and listen deeply to the reality within me. The one reality. Now, you might feel this was a little muddled. If you do, ask yourself, have you got in your house or room or where you work, have you got a drawer, in a cupboard somewhere, where you just push things when you haven't at that moment somewhere special to put them, or a special room. But just think of the cupboard. You open it and it's full of all sorts of things, each one potentially useful, but put there because they're not useful at the moment and very often forgotten, even when they would be useful. Now, if you could think of the theme that we've taken today as being like that cupboard in your home. If you've never had one, it's a pity, it's a great thing. You may be a person who, whenever you open any cupboard or drawer in their home, everything is in order. They're all numbered, they're all the right colors, they're all the right materials or purpose. You know exactly where to get this, exactly where to get that. It's all in order. But for most of us, we've also known this rumble cupboard where things got thrown in and oh, I used to have one of those. I can't think what I did with it. Perhaps I put it in there. And you go searching. Well, this theme today was a little bit like the cupboard. There are many, many things in there which we have forgotten in the topic we've just taken. And perhaps when you're taking time to think on the effects of depression, of movement, which is what has happened in the COVID virus. Or at least we've hung it on COVID. Let's leave COVID alone for the moment. And just saying that on the journey of humanity, this is one of the dangerous effects that we could ignore. When we see others, we ignore this one, which is a pity. Having a look and seeing what has happened in my life. Give myself a good sleep and then a good shake up and look at it carefully. Fear of risk, of the unknown, the uncertain, the insecure. And then look at the human family, how worldwide, instead of coming together, we are making our little barriers, our little pockets of protection stronger. You say, oh, not everybody. There are social workers working all over the world. If we gathered them together, they would be too small a portion of our human family, sadly. So that's the next challenge. When I take time during the coming months to sit alone, to get myself as still as I can, and then surrender what I cannot, and listen, you may be surprised at how clearly you get an answer. You hear the next step for you. And that's then it's all up to each one of us. You know, why did we take the time to sit down and listen to any of this? And perhaps you only had one sentence and that was enough. That doesn't matter. No. And we call this satsang the spontaneous coming together of those who are on the journey, who are seeking completion, who are seeking to be fully human. And what does that mean? Well, we know body, psyche, spirit. Body, psyche, spirit. Because the human being is tripartite. So we mustn't forget the other. But anyway, take this as your rumble cupboard where you just go in and look and see, I think I've got one of these somewhere in this drawer, you know, and you find it, you say, that's what I'm looking for. So take this topic, excuse me, of depression, the effects of depression, like a cloud that quietly creeps over the light. Move away with it. Get the courage to say, okay, let's take this on for the next month. And you find that its after effect is release, a sense of freedom and a sense of joy. We would never link joy with depression. But when we recognize it, that it's there and how it is affecting me personally, then I also find my way to real joy. And in joy, we hope to meet you again next month when we're somewhere else. And please share with each other. Give this out to other people, get their reactions as well, particularly the younger generation, the younger adult generation. Pass it around, share it. Share it with us, especially Stigiti and me. Yeah? We'd be very, very pleased and grateful to have something from you that is really important, from your sharing, from your reflection during the coming month. And then, in a month's time, we look forward to meeting you again.